What was that?
This is you.
What was that? That was so stupid looking. You should do it again. I wish we could rewind.
Sometimes I wish that I could chug a lot more because I feel like there would be good effect for the show. And then I think about it and I'm like, motherfucker, you do this show twice a week for 52 weeks a year. Your liver is not about to handle that.
We're not doing all that, man. I don't need you like having a freaking alcohol stroke right here on the show. Like,
you can have one of those? Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
That's how I want to go out.
What? I'm gonna plant that seed just to mess with you guys.
That's how
it's
I
a
want to
thing.
go out.
Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, people say they want to die having sex. No, I don't want to drink myself to death. I just want to drink and then die. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, it's called alcohol poisoning.
Well, that's different. Don't you live for a little bit after that and like have a huge hospital bill?
No, when you're laying on the floor twitching, I don't know if that's really living, Hugh. Like,
so you know what's actually funny? A lot of people who are alcoholics actually die of drowning, and the reason they die of drowning is because you have polyps inside of your throat. So when you drink alcohol, they become inflamed, and then the skin inside of it becomes really thin. So you'll have like a potato chip or something, and it'll cut inside of your throat, and then you'll bleed out into your lungs.
God
and
damn
you
it.
drown on it.
Meg Hall, ruiner of things.
Sorry, I learned it. My mom was a nurse, so.
That's why you can't. That's why you can't.
Thanks for joining the Liberty Risk podcast. I'm Billy,
and I'm Hugh,
and I'm Meg.
Oh wow!
What trash are you drinking?
It's called Wild Basin. It's actually more expensive than Basin.
Wild Basic.
Hold on. Where's my Sharpie?
It's more expensive. So is that bougie? Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Oh, did I use it right? I'm trying to learn the kids' lingo. I recently learned that if you're mad, you're not lit anymore, but you're mad.
Well, lit is like a happy sign.
Hold on, Meg.
Ah, Sean's my friend. Hi, Sean.
That doesn't add up. Your story's already full of holes.
What up, Damon?
Hey, Damon. Congratulations on the wedding. That's the guy whose wedding I was at in Tampa a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Congratulations on the marriage.
We drank scotch for 12 straight hours on his wedding day.
I know, Hugh.
Yeah, and then you said you were
not remember talking to me on the phone, Hugh?
Food poisoning.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I did tell you guys.
On the show.
I told you guys food poisoning because I didnn't have the energy to tell you what was really going on. So here's what happened.
We knew.
Quite knew. So
I'll tell you why I knew.
So because you've been to more than one wedding. Yeah, so I started drinking at like 9:00 that morning, and then I had a drink. I'm pretty sure most of the wedding photos I have a scotch in my hand. We drank all the way till like 2 a.m, and I got back to my hotel at like 2:45, and I had a 9:00 flight out of Tampa. So I basically had enough time to go to the bathroom and pack my bag and hope I didn't forget anything, and then get to the airport. So by the time I didn't get to sleep on the flights because there was one of those kids that always screams and cries because its parent won't give it any liquor or anything. And so when I finally landed back here in Virginia, I was like, oh crap, it's Monday. Sorry guys, food poisoning. I went and picked up Guinness. I came home and slept for like 14 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I already knew. I was just letting you ride that out.
Love you mean it.
Yeah, I was just letting you ride that train.
Yeah. Meg, how are you doing your finals this week?
I did do my finals. I only had to do one final, actually, because I aced 2 of my other classes, so I didn't have to do finals for it. Actually, no, I did have to do 2. But my other classes, I aced them, so I was exempt from the finals.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yawn, but that was so boring. Anyway.
Yeah, it's criminal justice. It's pretty dry.
What it is my brain, when I start thinking about going to school or doing schoolwork again, my brain shuts down and it just goes, you're tired. Just go to sleep. Just forget this.
Going to school sucks.
Oh God, I have to go back.
Go get a trade, kids.
I start next year. I don't want to go back.
I keep getting emails offering me a job for Dynaco and other like aviation maintenance positions, and they're like, "We'll give you a $3,000 sign-on bonus."
Isn't Dynaco the thing from Cars?
Yeah.
Or Dynacorp, whatever it is.
Oh, there we go.
Dynacorp is around. I thought Dynaco. I don't think that's right.
You just showed the world you really are a nanny. Like you really are.
Honestly, I don't remember the last time I saw Cars because I don't really like that movie, but. I didn't really watch it when it was in theaters either.
Not all of their movies are 10s. That's okay. You can't all be Toy Story. Once you set the bar that high.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And Monsters Inc. That's a good one.
They're coming out with a new one where a guy, well, based on the preview, he dies and it's like his soul trying to get back to his body.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I know Pixar only does like one movie a year, so I don't know.
Is that really?
Yeah, I think they release like one movie a year because they do so well.
Damn.
I don't really know.
You gotta be straight. You gotta be straight thug to just be
they release one movie a year, and they usually you can see hints from like previous movies of characters that are coming up. So based on the preview, it looks like this guy dies or his soul leaves his body in some form or another, and it's this journey to get back. Which I think is pretty heavy for a Pixar movie. Like Inside Out, dealing with emotions, I thought was like. Because Pixar are kid movies, you know? It's not like Zelda is an adult's game, but it's a game nonetheless. Pixar is a kids movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for Inside Out to come out and be like, here's the 5 emotions that women have, and then guys just have the blind one and then anger. For them to come out with a movie about, like, your soul, kind of feel like that's pretty heavy for kids, right? Billy, you have 2 of them.
Yes.
It's nuts.
I'll be like, hey, listen, there's things you were not going to let your kids watch on TV, even though the TV says, hey, these are for kids. Like, you wouldn't let them watch Rocko's Modern Life or Ren and Stimpy.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize
at
how
your kids'
dirty
age.
were.
Yeah, right? Even The Simpsons is
I used to
a cartoon.
watch those.
But, like, how do you feel about your kids watching a movie about...
I mean, we watched Die Hard the other night.
Well, that's a Christmas movie. That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas until I see Hans Gruber falling out of Nakatomi Tower. Yeah.
Was the one he did with was it Live Free Die Hard?
Where they were DC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I hated that one, but there's one funny part where he's driving through the tunnel and he launches in the breaker for the tunnel.
Yeah.
Launches the car up into the helicopter. Yeah. And the kid goes, "That was amazing." He goes, "Yeah, it was a lucky shot." He goes, "You launched a car into the helicopter."
Yeah.
That was amazing.
There was some good dialogue between the two of them in that one.
Oh, it was hilarious. He goes, "You launched a car into the helicopter."
Speaking of Christmas coming up, everybody should remember, you know, when you're on your social media wishing everyone a happy Merry Christmas and whatnot, remember Al Powell risked his life to defend Nakatomi Tower. He deserves your love and respect, okay? I don't care. What was it? Family Matters was the show he was in? It's not the same. Not the same. Sorry.
Oh, speaking of Christmas movies, I watched
Die Hard 2?
No, well, of course. But no, that new Mel Gibson movie. Have you seen it?
Oh,
Fat Man?
No, I've seen the previews.
Holy shit. It is such trash.
What?
It is one of those trash movies that you have to watch because the absurdity that goes on in this movie. Listen, when a fucking elf gets on a fucking 50 cal mount and starts tearing shit up, yelling out, "Fuck you, Christmas forever." I will watch it every year over and over again.
Mel Gibson plays Santa, right? And some kid hires a hitman to kill him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll give that a watch. Like it's got to be worth at least one viewing, right?
I don't know. I feel like the next time I visit, that has to be a drunk view.
I'll tell you what,
for all of us.
Yes.
After wasting an hour and a half of my life on Napoleon Dynamite, I'll watch most things at least.
Oh, this is so much better than that.
Napoleon Dynamite is a classic, though. That's a good show.
I hate Napoleon Dynamite.
This is like
you hate good things.
This is like someone tried to mash a Christmas movie from the Hallmark series, Die Hard and Super Troopers, and just go and just go.
I'll give it at least one go.
I mean, the movie's called freaking Fat Man. I mean, what are you really expecting from this? That's
not a whole lot.
Yeah, no one's winning awards for this one, Mel.
It's no Braveheart 2 by any means.
Yeah, no. It was.
All right, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Walton Goggins, that's right. He was in Justified. He played the villain in Justified.
Yes.
I like him. He's pretty funny.
Oh, it was so dumb.
Now that Meg is done showing us how she's trying to be a dude. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight.
That hurt.
You good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is Timothy M. Jones. We're very excited. I first heard about Timothy back in August from our friend Justin Justin Fulp over at the Student Veterans of America. Timothy speaks on PTSD and sexual trauma. He does a lot of public speaking. He's got a lot of qualifications and certifications on handling sexual assault, prevention and response and coordination. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm going to let him talk about it. I'm very, very, very excited. Billy, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, bring him in. Bring him in. He's sitting in the green room patiently, so yeah, we'll bring him in.
Timothy, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a fabulous Thursday here in Pittsburgh, Winter Wonderland.
So you have 12 inches of snow, and you guys are wondering if you're going to win next week, right?
Oh, we're going to win. We're going
We're going to win.
We're going to win.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. It had to be a tough one. So you live up right next to Heinz Field, right?
I live about 5 minutes away from Heinz Field.
So when the Steelers lost to an unnamed football team, was it just like silence for 24 hours?
No, it was not 24 hours. We had, honestly, Washington football team, we had to give them a Christmas present. That's why.
Like, look, you
That's
can't pick a name, so we'll just give you a win. Here you go. Like,
yeah, everybody needs a little bit.
Yeah, the Washington football team.
I think the Bengals would have been a lot worse if they had lost to the Bengals. I think that you might as well just hang it up.
Okay, now what we're not going to do is go there.
Fair enough. So, Timothy, why don't you tell us about your organization and what it is, what your mission is?
Oh, awesome. So I own a company called Colorful Voices. Our goal is to help eradicate the stigmas that are associated with sexual assault. That's our goal. That manifests itself in many different areas and ways. The first of it is getting out there and sharing my story. My journey is no longer my story. It's actually our story of surviving and also what I like to call thriving. And so that's our main focus, is to be a light, to be of service to those survivors who need that, those survivors who are speaking out, those survivors who are not yet ready to speak out, and then those who are just really needing assistance and support.
So we have had, on the DL podcast and the admin for a Facebook group, both who deal with thank you. Who have been dealing with sexual assault and sexual trauma in the military from a female's perspective, but you have a very, very unique perspective yourself regarding this. Are you comfortable telling us what happened to you?
Absolutely. I would love to do that. I am a male survivor, and I'll tell you my story. First of all, we got to go back to the future. That's because in that movie, we went to the past, and that's really where my story began. It took me 21 years to be able to get to this point, to be able to talk to you. And when I was 8 years old, I told my mom that I was going to do three things. I said I was going to, first of all, move to Japan. I was going to encounter some difficulty. Then I was going to be rich. So those were my things at 8.
At 13, that's what you wanted to do?
Those are good goals.
Oh, no, that was at 8. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, at 8? There you go.
And so my mom said, hey, babe, two out of the three of those aren't bad. So she was like, work on it. When I turned 18, I knew that I was going to go into the military just because my grandfather was in the Army. My uncle served in the Army, my brother in the Marine Corps, my aunt in the Air Force. Wow. So I was like,
wow,
that's a hell of a legacy.
Yeah. So let me join the Navy. Let me complete that circle and complete that transition. I would have joined the Coast Guard, but I didn't know we had a Coast Guard at the time.
Well, they're not real military, so.
I didn't know they had a Coast Guard. I love that.
In all fairness, I love my coasties. I love my coasties, but I got to.
Sorry, Brian.
But it was a wonderful time. I went through boot camp, and then I got to choose my duty station, which was MCASC Gakuni, Japan. I learned really quickly that I was moving to a Marine Corps base. And I'll tell you, I was really pissed off about that. And that was in the Navy. We run a mile and a half, but then the Marines, they run 6 miles, and they were like, "We're gonna run 6 miles," and I was like, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, it sounds terrible. Sounds like a
no. I can barely run a mile.
My gunny was like,
this body was not made for that. Even when I was in,
This is not made for that.
I was not made for those 6 miles. I was upset. My gunny was like, "You're gonna be able to do that mile and a half in 4 minutes." I was like, "No, someone told you wrong on that one." I'm eating this time up. But that's how I was at 19 years of age. I had, first of all, I got my orders at Iwo Queen, and I got to call my mom from Tokyo, and I was able to tell her, you know what, first step is complete. First goal is done. And that was an amazing time. I loved life in Japan. I love the culture. I love everyone that I was with. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Me and Megan have been.
Me and Meg were actually stationed in the same place at different time periods.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was we were in Misawa on the main island, all the way to northeastern corner. Actually, I think I just saw on their Facebook page they got 27 inches of snow in 6 hours last night and had to cancel all the AMC flights for people to go home for the holidays. It was so yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of snow.
But no, you're right. Japanese, I've said that so many times. There's 2 places I would love to live is Ireland and Japan. And the culture, there's the people, you give yourself a gut check on how you are as a person when you see the Japanese culture. You're like, oh man, I am doing this wrong. Yeah. These are the nicest people in the world. Like,
yeah,
you're right. This is life. This is real life. You're like, man, they are very accepting. It was a wonderful time. I will tell you at that time they did refer to me as Kobe a lot, because that's the only superstar I knew was Kobe. So,
R.I.P. Kobe. R.I.P.
R.I.P. I was nothing like Kobe, but I was like, the amount of times that I got called that in 19 years ago was amazing. Oh my God. So I had a great time over there. But like life, things turn differently. It happens. So on 3 months in being in Japan, I got a phone call, and the voice on the other end of that line simply just said, "I'm watching you." And first of all, I didn't pay any attention. I had been drinking because the legal age to drink in Japan off base was like 18.
Yeah.
So I was able to,
provided you had ID and could prove you were at least 18, right?
Yep.
Exactly. So I loved it over there, and I just chalked it up to a missed phone call, wrong number. But those calls kept happening, and I started getting a little freaked out. It would start happening in random areas, and I wanted to report what was happening, but unfortunately, we're in 1999. Don't ask, don't tell is a big thing at that time, and I didn't want to risk losing my career. So it kept happening. Several weeks after that, I got another phone call, but the voice on the other end said, "I'm watching you right now in the club." And so we are in my living room now, and the club in Iwakuni, Japan is about a little bit bigger than this living room. So very, very, very small, very compact, and I got really freaked out. And so I decided at that point, man, you don't even understand. I was like, who is watching me? What the hell?
Yeah. There's like 20 motherfuckers in here. Which one of you is it?
Exactly. I'm trying to point it out. So I left the club. I walked home, and then I got past barracks. I laid in my room, and then the night was over at that point in my mind. And that's when I woke up as I laid down to a 6'5" Marine on top of me, and that was the scariest moment of my life at that time. I tried to get up, but he forced me back down. And I didn't know who this Marine was. I knew he was a Marine because what I did in the Navy was I'm a yeoman. And so I took care of our Navy service records and our Navy men and women. So I knew every single one of the Navy sailors. So I knew that he was a Marine, and he had to be in my unit because he had access to the barracks. Sure. So
jeez.
In that moment, it was probably the scariest 20 minutes of my life, and those 20 minutes altered my 20 years. It completely changed me. In that moment, I could only just, how am I going to get out of this? You know, what am I going to do to get out of this safely? I feared, I thought this guy was going to kill me.
Sure.
And as the act is taking place, I've been like, what am I going to do? I have two choices. I can, you know, I'm going to play along with it. I'm not going to tell him what he needs to hear. And I did that. I tell people I could have gotten an Oscar because I made sure he believed me. And then finally I was like, I'm going to throw up. I've been drinking. I have to throw up, and I need you to let me up. And he believed me. That's when I went outside and I started banging on my corporal's door, asking for help. And thankfully he answered. And I woke up the next morning in the fetal position, just crying my eyes out. And I didn't want to report what had happened, but my corporal's girlfriend, she said, hey, Jones, if you don't report this, it's going to happen to somebody else. And I could not have that on my conscience to know that to be silent in that moment. So I did report it. My gunny came through, had a wonderful conversation at that time. And I thought I was getting assisted, but the problem was I didn't know who it was. I can only describe him, and I didn't know his name. And so I thought that would be the end of it, but that's honestly where the hazing began. And that was kind of tough. Being in 1999, serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, you are who you hang out with. So if you're a guy that reports being assaulted by another guy, and rather than worrying about that, they automatically assume, okay, you're gay. And then that became the topic of conversation. Not about the assault, okay, this guy's gay.
So the people that you were with, the sailors and the Marines, they didn't care what it seems to me they didn't really care what had happened to you. They care more about the perception that you're not straight, you're gay. They didn't care that this had happened to you. They weren't like trying to find this person to prevent it from happening to them or somebody else.
So great question. You're right, because there's stigma involved with sexual assault. The first thing people would say is, how could you be assaulted? You're a man. Then you fight him off. If that would have happened to me, I would have fought him off. I would have beat up. I would have done these things. And I tell people, shoulda, coulda, woulda. This is what you would have done in that situation. You don't know what you're gonna do until you're in it. And you don't know
what reacting is gonna cause. It can make things a lot worse if you tried to fight back, if you tried to push him off. There's a very good likelihood that he killed you. Severely disabled you.
Absolutely. So, and when I woke up and I got startled, that's the first thing I did. I tried to jump up, but because his size and strength, he pushed me back down. And I don't know if you had like your couches and your sofas. So when he pushed me back down on that armchair, my head hit the wood of that chair. So in that moment there, I knew
issue barracks furniture. It sounds like.
Yeah. And so I was like, man, this is not a game. This is serious. And the other thing that I tell people is I prepared for every scenario that I thought when I decided to join the Navy, when I decided to join the military. Every scenario I thought of, except for being sexually assaulted. I didn't think that someone who took the same oath that I took, who would lay their life down for me for our country, would then assault me in such a personal manner. And and I couldn't wrap my head around that. And then it kind of compounded itself, because after I reported, everyone just looked at me as that guy. That's Jones. That's the guy that reported that. And so I would go to the chow hall and I would get these stares and these looks. And I can tell you, there's no cold feeling than having the entire chow hall go silent when you walk into the room. Jesus and you know why.
Yeah, it's such a demeaning feeling when you walk into a room and everyone is silent and all you hear is and you know that it's about you. It is such a chilling, just absolutely horrifying feeling.
Timothy, I like I'm in the all of us are sort of the Navy, so every year, we go through those trainings, sexual assault trainings, and the reporting procedures. But something that gets brought up is that the male on male violence is not always sexual. A lot of it is about power and control. Mm-hmm. Do you think that? Do you find that to be your experience with because you're significantly more involved in sexual assault coordination and public speaking and training than the average military service member is. Do you think that it's about power and control as opposed to sex?
So it depends on the individual and it depends on the perpetrator. There are aspects of power that are there. I try. So that's a difficult question because I try not to get into the mind. I've been doing this for so long that I've actually tried, even healing, to think of what was this guy thinking and what made me special, what made me stand out at that moment. And aspects of that I would say are power, but I don't value. I honestly can't answer that. I think power is part of it, but I think there's more to it than that.
Okay.
All
right. So, sorry, go ahead, Meg.
I was going to say, I feel like in a lot of cases, it's they are looking to oppress the other person. Like it's a sense of power, but it's also like I want to control and manipulate and oppress this person in some way. Whether it's like that person, whoever it was, probably had that sexual orientation within them, but they felt uncomfortable coming out about it. So because they felt uncomfortable coming out about it, wanted to oppress somebody of that nature because it's like a psychological miscommunication where they want to oppress others because their inner feelings are being suppressed. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
it makes sense, but
they can't outwardly tell people what they want to do.
I would partially agree with that. I would say, though, I wouldn't say put orientation. I don't believe sexual orientation necessarily has a route in that or a full place at that. There are many other perpetrators that can be heterosexual that prey on men as well. But that. So I think it's an aspect of a little bit of everything. My particular perpetrator, I think power had a certain thing to it, but also I think there's more mental health there that also hadn't been addressed. Not knowing his history, so there's more at that. And I think one of the things that I really that I think that survivors need to know though is that what happens to you is what happened to you. Like what happened to me was abnormal, but the way I processed it was normal, and continue to process it.
I just want to say really quick, since we're getting all of this stuff moved over to podcast platforms, Meg was not laughing at our guest Timothy. Our friend Justin commented in his new dumbass Facebook profile is his dog in Admiralty gear. So if you're gonna send hate mail, that's fine. I'm bored and have free time, but I just want you guys to know she's not laughing at our guest. She's laughing at our friend's Facebook photo.
Thank you. Because after I chuckled a little, I was like,
You're like, good job, Meg. Yeah, you're a terrible person.
It's Justin. It's just. I mean, look, it's just.
I know, but still, if you're Justin, you're gonna listen on Spotify or iHeart. They're gonna be like, holy shit, Meg laughed at that guy. What a fucking bitch. And all that might be true, but I just want people to know that that's not what was happening.
Well, first of all, we're not going to call her out that name. We're not going to do that.
Fair enough. I apologize. You're right. I should be polite and nicer to Meg. She does put up with us and come on here every week, which is super dope. So Timothy, so you reported this. Your command was less than accepting of the situation as a whole.
Well, and so I'll say it first. In my one gunny, I don't remember his name, but I remember his action. When he came to me that day in the room, it was a sincere. He meant every single word of being supported there for me. I think they all at that point were trying to navigate what was happening. coming forward with sexual assault. Not a lot of attention had been paid to that. So I think he was reacting as normal as he can. Unfortunately, as the legal process played out, you just had a lot of other things come forward. People with stigmas, not understanding the situation, not understanding the gravitas of being sexually assaulted, because there's that macho feeling there. We hear the term toxic masculinity. That's a true term at that time. I think as time went on, the command was less than favorable because they didn't want it to seem like an affront on Marines.
Sure. And, it being 1999, what were we wrapping up like Desert Shield or Storm, one of them?
Well, we were kind of because I joined in 2000, so we were kind of in a
small lull,
a small peace. I want to say peace in a sense that
it was peacetime.
Yeah.
So Timothy, what was the eventual outcome of after you reported it?
So that's a good question. Before I tell you that, I have a question for you. What do you think? And by the way, after I reported, what came out is that he did assault and sexually assault 4 other Marines. That's the first one.
God. Males?
So males, all male. And so what do you think the punishment was for a soldier sexually assaulting essentially 5 people in 1999? What do you think happened?
I would say if I was guessing, I would say that the command was probably more concerned with the sexual orientation of the assaultees than the assaulter's actions. If I had to guess, because Don't Ask, Don't Tell didn't get repealed until like the
2012.
Obama administration.
That's a lot more recent than I thought it was. I would say my guess would be that the command cared more about the sexual orientation of the people who were assaulted and protecting the reputation of, in this case, the Marine Corps. But whether it was a Marine or a sailor or an airman, I would imagine they would have protected the image of the branch as opposed to the individuals.
And I would say so. What his sentence was the same sentence as the Stanford perpetrator. He got dishonorably discharged, 6 months in the brig, and that was it. And I was into that story for him and I as that stood. Again, the sad part about that wasn't just necessarily the act of the trauma that took place; it was everything afterwards. He committed the act. All of a sudden, a friend of mine who was getting discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, then commit suicide. And before he did that, I couldn't shake how this guy got my phone number. I had a Japanese number, only my family had it, and close friends. So I didn't know how he got it, but before my friend passed away, he came to me and apologized and was like, "Listen, I'm sorry, but I gave him your number." What he told me was he wanted to show you around the command. He knew that I was new, and he had no idea what he had planned to do. What I'm grateful for was the fact that I got to tell him that, you don't have anything to apologize for because it's not your fault. You had no idea what he had planned to do. And I was able to have that moment with him that really was a healing moment. But fortunately, after he passed away, that's when my command and my CEO pulled me into his office and then told me, my name had come up now twice in relation to homosexual activity. They thought the assault was something that I asked for, consensual, and it wasn't, even though he had been shipped out. And then the second time was because when my friend passed away, I was one of the first to see his body at the time. Then showed him remorse for it. That okay, now I'm really gay. He told me if my name came up a third time, he didn't care what it was for. He was going to discharge me. And sadly, my name did. Yeah. So this is the CEO of my command.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. They did see me. I was able to go to counseling, but this was verbatim. And the first thing that the counselor said to me, and it was a chaplain, he said, listen, first of all, he quoted Bible scripture, and he'll tell me, this is how bad homosexuality is. He would then take a rubber band, and he would pop the rubber band and say, this is what happens when you engage in homosexual activity. And then he'd say, what do you want to talk about today? So I was like,
what do you think I want to fucking talk about?
What?
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
and so that was the counseling I had for the first year after that.
Oh,
and
quality. Good talk.
Yeah, good quality shit. I'm sure that you have no problems anymore.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it hasn't gotten much better.
Yeah.
It really has not. I got counseling for it after mine afterwards, and they said failure to adapt. And I was like,
and that,
adapt to what? Adapt? Like, that doesn't mean anything. So it hasn't gotten much better, sadly. Yeah.
And so that really shattered my mindset. Like, who am I as a person? Who am I as a man? How am I a man? How am I as an African American man? And full disclosure, I am homosexual. I am gay, but I was not disclosing that to anybody. And because I was gay doesn't mean that I was consensual. I was consenting to someone I didn't know. That's something that angered me for a long time. And sadly, my name did come up a third time, and that was because I reported it. These things were happening. I was getting verbally taunted. The verbal interactions turned into jokes, which then turned into physical. People were trying to beat me up. One person did. He wanted to shatter my kneecap. He came close to that. That's something I don't share. I'm like, I just share something I don't talk about, actually.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
It sounds like I think we still have this problem today. So my being a reservist, I've been on 4 mobilizations in 10 years. And every time as a reservist, it's a little bit different because everybody's kind of thinking like, I have this much time until I'm a civilian again. So they're only military enough to get them to the end of that time frame. And every single deployment so far, we've had an issue. And I'm finding out about it in other countries. So somebody tells me, oh, did you hear about such and such? And I'm like, that sounds like their private fucking business that you shouldn't. Why the fuck do you know this? That's leadership. That's higher ups not doing their due diligence, which is to keep your information private. And so if you are going to work and these people are taunting you, it means that somebody ran their mouth, and they're not being held responsible either, because their obligation, their duty, not only is to take care of you as a service member, but is to keep your information private. It's their job to make sure you have the best possible time for you at MCAS Iwakuni, but clearly that didn't happen.
It didn't, but what I'm grateful for are I did form relationships and bonds there that I still have today. They're the reason I'm here right now. There's a lot of individuals that are on my team that are directly responsible for me being here. They may not even known it, but just about their care towards me during that time. My crew in Iwakuni really had my back. I had to stop eating in that chow hall. In Iwakuni, it's an island, so I stopped eating at my main chow hall, and I would go to the other end of the island to eat. And it was a place. Sucks that I had to do that, but I will tell you, it was good for me not dealing with the stairs.
Sure.
Yeah. Is Iwakuni, is that on Okinawa?
No, it's mainland. So
yeah, it's mainland.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, it's the south.
Yeah, okay. We're about 30 kilometers from Hiroshima, which was.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I had such an experience in Hiroshima.
So Timothy, you said it took you a really long time before you were willing to talk about it. Do you remember what it was, or what happened, or what you heard that made you decide, okay, it's time for me to start talking about it?
Oh yeah, I went to jail. That's what did.
Oh shit.
So I had a 10-year thing of being in the wilderness, and I made some really bad decisions and bad choices, and I had to be accountable for it. And I took my ex-partner's credit card, and I went on a spending spree of tequila. $5,000 tequila.
Wow.
Of all the things. things. That's perfect.
Yeah. So I had to be accountable for that, and on my third suicide attempt, and is when it really hit home. Before jail, I was ready. I failed twice to complete, and so the third time I had a plan. I had made a video. I knew what was going to happen, and right before the act of committing it, I had a moment of clarity, and a voice just simply told me not to do it. And I thought of my friend whom 10 years had passed since I found his body, and I didn't want my brother to go through what I went through. So it was in that moment that I made a decision that if I wasn't going to let my life completely fall off the handles, that I was going to transform my life. And I made a commitment at that point to do whatever it needed to be to do in order to make that happen. And unfortunately, I had to go to jail. And I'm glad that I did. And there was a sheriff, I don't even remember his name. And this one sheriff and the ride into jail in Pensacola just basically said, hey, man, I don't know what's going on in your life, but, they should take this time to get your shit together.
That's a very different experience than I think a lot of people have when they're right in the back.
Yeah.
I think that guy did you a lot of good, I think.
He did a lot. He was a veteran too, and he just said, I don't know what's going on with you, but you don't seem like a criminal. You don't seem like the type. Just take this time to get your shit together. And I did. Like, man, I didn't want to go back to jail or go to jail because I'm on probation. I said, man, I don't want to go to prison or be in a situation where I'm around 80 other men, and I hadn't processed what was happening. I was definitely afraid of that. And I met a VA social worker. Her name is Kathy Munson. I know her name today because she saved my life. She said, listen, what do you want to talk about? And I just, for the first time, shared every single shitty thing that I'd gone through in that decade. And what was supposed to be a 45-minute conversation was 3 hours and some change.
Oh, shit.
And I will never forget afterwards, she was like, man, have you ever heard of PTSD? And I was like, man, I have, but it doesn't apply to me. I've never served in combat. I haven't gone through what my post-9/11 veterans, what y'all have gone through. And she was like, no, she was waiting. She's like, no, you are a card-carrying member of the club. And I was...
Welcome.
I was welcome. And
we're getting t-shirts.
I was so excited. Oh my God, I'm going to tell you, I was so excited. I went back to the cell, the holding bay, and I was screaming, holy shit, y'all, I got PTSD. I got PTSD. Oh my God, I got PTSD.
Because it was kind of an answer. It was like an answer. Like it wasn't just this. You now could say, this is what it is. It's not nothing. Yeah. It's not just
crazy.
Exactly.
You're not crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm not falling
Timothy, when you so you had that third incident and your command processed you out of the Navy. Did you have any issues? Because you got out in 1999, correct?
Yeah, December.
Were there any issues with filing your VA claim? Did they try to hold you up for don't ask, don't tell?
So, great story about that. I didn't file my claim until my first attempt at filing my claim didn't happen until 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason for that is based upon my experience in the Navy in Japan, I didn't trust anybody. My nickname was Jonesy because I didn't want you to know my first name. And I never went into a VA for 10 years just because I attributed the VA to active duty. Even with my family, everyone saying, go to the VA, you need some help. I refused to go. But Kathy Munson, that's why I say she saved my life, because she was my introduction to the VA. And so I ended up going. It took me 8 years. I've only had my service connection for about 3 years or so. And the reason for that is just I had a faulty CMP exam, from what I understand. The rater acknowledged that what happened to me happened. And thankfully, I reported the situation because there was police reports all there. And fortunately for me, the perpetrator, I'm the only one he admitted to assaulting.
Oh my God.
And not only did he admit it, he and I had to read this myself, expressed sorrow for that. And what pissed me off was the fact, even with that information, I was denied. And this is at the time where you submit a claim, it would take you 2 years before you got an answer. And then if you didn't like the claim, you would have to appeal it, and it would take another 2 years for that to work.
Yeah.
So,
and they said, hey, listen, we got all this proof, we validate it, we're 100% sure it happened, but also we're not gonna rate you for it.
We're not gonna rate you for it. And that's when I was homeless. And it kind of continued. And then I got other doctors. And then when I found out, all of my care that I've received is from the VA. And when I reapplied, I had 5 different VA doctors say, and this guy's got PTSD, like it's on there. And the only reason why I kept getting denied is rather than do a new CMP exam, they would revert to the original one from 2012. So in 2016, they would go back to 2012 and not look at what the doctors said. And I'm like, why does this rater carry this weight? So thankfully, moving here to Pittsburgh, I had an opportunity to share my story, and just so happened the right people heard it, and we were able to get a new CMP exam, and I was finally able to get rated. And I will tell y'all, for a long time, I said, you know, it's not about the money, it's about the care, it's about the acknowledgement, and I didn't think I needed it, but that phone call, I got a phone call that said, you know, on behalf of the U.S. government, we apologize. I broke down in tears.
Life-changing phone call.
That's I couldn't even imagine the United States government being like, hey man, we made a mistake. Like,
we're sorry.
Government's not supposed to make mistakes. Government's, you know what I mean? And I
couldn't even imagine the emotional just weight and just, I'm going to, for lack of better words, dump. Like, you know what I mean? Just that.
Yeah.
Whew,
do you feel like a big relief off your shoulders, off your chest? Yeah. Like finally they said, we fucked up.
Yeah. Exactly. So I work for a nonprofit here in Pittsburgh. I get a special shout out Veterans Leadership, and I love them. And they support me in all that I do. When I got that phone call, I was at work, and I did that. I dumped, I cried. My team members came around me, gave me hugs, and it was that moment that was 8 years that I had fought for, but at that point, it had been 20 years since it happened. So it was just like, oh my God, finally I'm being listened to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
If I could, I have a statistic here for you. So I actually just wrote a paper on MST, and specifically about reporting methods. So this is what I have written. Men feel that there is a lack of awareness for male victims, and many have a tendency to blame or marginalize men for their claims. Due to this hypocrisy towards men, very few are likely to report, even with the introduction of new policies to provide resources for post-traumatic care. Generally, men are not afforded this luxury due to the lack in recognition of sexual violence towards men. The largest concern being that the ratio of men to women within the military is 4-1. Given the statistics, it would be fair to state that there are roughly as many male victim incidents as there are female victim incidents, based on the RAND report of 2016, stating that 1% of men experience MST and 4% of females experience MST. This trend has been increasing over the past couple of years, with a recent spike in upcoming data showing elevated numbers between 2018 to 2020 soon to be released. With all this undocumented and documented incidents, backlash, and gaslighting occurring during the times of intervention, the VA has had to make adjustments to their process for managing members. So I just wrote a paper on that, and I found two articles that discussed male MST. And I was so upset to hear about that, because I found several articles on female MST, which is common, but there was very little documentation and evidence on this. But for men, there's even less so. There was only 2 articles that I found in my search of 200 articles. And it made me really sad to hear it.
Yeah. That's why it's very important for survivors to get to a point where they can share their story. You know, it took me 20 years to get there, and there are others that it could take longer. But those who get to a point that can share their story, That's why it's so important for survivors to do that. And anyone that is a survivor that is sharing their story, we're all doing that part so we can have more data, more research. And I applaud the branches, DOD. They're taking tremendous steps to address it. And I've got a chance to see that by traveling to the different bases. It has renewed my faith in the process. I know that it's not perfect and that there's still so much work that needs to be done, but compared to what I went through, it's vastly improved. And that just means that we as advocates and as allies have more work to do to make sure it continues to improve, just so that we have more articles. That I said, eliminating the stigmas, and the reason why that's my goal, my purpose in life, is because I'm realistic. I can't end evil. I can't end what is another person's heart. But what I can do is ensure that those resources and supports that are out there have the net and the bandwidth to help those survivors, and that the stigmas associated are not taboo. And so when someone comes forward, they're believed, and that they can have that trust in the system.
And Timothy, I just spoke to my my therapist at the VA the other day, and he, up here at Hampton, he says that the Hampton VA has added like 30 new therapists, which for me is a personal victory, because I think that a lot of people who get out of the military, one of the things that they're mostly concerned about, regardless of whatever the physical limitations are, is getting that mental health. And I agree with you. I think that it's if you're willing to look back far enough, and I only joined the military in 2008, but even when I joined in 2008, you couldn't tell people you had PTSD because you were worried medical was going to disqualify you from deployments, and you couldn't. Not that you couldn't, but it wasn't looked favorably upon if you reported sexual assault or sexual trauma. You were constantly concerned that your command was going to stand by the person who wronged you. And while I think that is still very largely the case today in a lot of the branches, you can tell that there are a lot of strides being made to tell people that, hey, listen, like, that's not your fault, and we're here to help you with that. Like, you're not going to lose your security clearance or your deployability or your position because somebody else fucked up. Like, we're going to go burn them because they deserve it. What would you say is the number one reason that men are still afraid to come forward and say, hey, listen, this happened to me and it's fucked up, and somebody needs to be held accountable?
And it's the culture. It's the culture that exists. It's the culture that is getting to a point and being stripped down. But man, culture and trust.
You think people don't trust people to take care of them?
No, I would say that it's not that. I think it's trust of how am I going to be perceived once I disclose this? What's going to happen to me after that? And because you see what happens, unfortunately, when women would come forward, and that shame and that stigma, and that's the same thing. Yeah. And so that's why I think it's imperative when we look at stigma that we have to get rid of that, because that trust and culture.
Right. So it's more of is my team still going to be my team if this happened to me? Or is my team going to turn on me because of whether it's preconceived notions or some sort of ideology from their upbringing?
Yeah. Yeah. If you are, so in a second, like if you're a heterosexual male and your perpetrator was another male, and there was maybe you got aroused doing it, doesn't mean that you're not gay. It doesn't mean you're gay. It means that you had a chemical reaction to something that was taking place. So those things are taking place. What happens if you are a male and then the perpetrator was female? And how is that going to the culture at that point would say, well, you would be welcoming that, not saying that you were assaulted. And it's really interesting because you look at the dynamic. That's why it's very important to say that NST is not a female issue or a male issue. It's just an issue, because when you pair the two, you realize it is just an issue, and puts the spotlight on the perpetrators as they should. They're not really able to hide anymore.
I got you. So tell us about Colorful Voices. Tell us what it is that Colorful Voices does, and how you got that started.
So, so what we do, and I have large aspirations, and the goal is to grow Colorful Voices. But where it started from is as I was on my healing journey, I was in school and class, and an advisor said I was trying to do an event, and I had heard the advisor say when I recorded the meeting, he said, "Oh, that's Timothy. That's the guy with the colorful voice," and he said it in a derogatory manner. And I just got a little affronting about that. And I was like, wait a minute, I do have a colorful voice. I don't look like what you would think the typical veteran looks like. I don't sound like what the typical veteran sounds like. I have my own unique voice. And
Turn that around on him.
Yeah. And you know what? I've now learned to use my voice to be a champion. And so I'm going to name my company that. And because I think what has happened with survivors, that we've lost our voice. And you know what? It's time to reignite that voice and reignite that color and that flair within you to sing that song. So that's why I named my company Colorful Voices. And what we do is we go out, we share my story. We're working on, I'm actually working with my partner on more content to build that out and create a space and a shared space for survivors. First of all, for victims to move from survivors to what I ultimately believe that we can become, and that's a thriver. And how can you thrive with this burden that we've had? And I believe that you can, and that's what we want to do. We want to be able to help victims move to survivors as they are survivors because they survived, now into a thriving mechanism.
And how I was reading on your website, you've been to a pretty decent amount of trainings on sexual assault and sexual harassment, haven't you?
I have.
How many? Do you know how many courses you've been to?
So I've been to a lot of bases. So I've actually been able to share my story during those trainings, and it's over 30.
Is the military pretty receptive about you coming out and talking about what is clearly a problem that all branches share?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, it's an invitation from the bases that I'm able to come out there, and it's
so they seek
a
you
conversation
out.
we're having. They seek me out. I have a collaborative partner called Difference Makers, where there's just a lot of collaborative partners, and it's a wonderful thing to see that these commands and the top of the chain are taking this conversation seriously.
That's fantastic.
I'm actually very proud of this number. I think since I've started, I've trained over 20,000
holy
and
shit.
college students.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's crazy.
What year did you start this?
2015 was my first
2015?
speaking, yeah.
Oh my God.
So
that's a lot of people.
4,000 people. Good for you, man. Fucking killing it out there.
No, well, it's a combination of a community. I couldn't do this without my community who loved me through the pain, and I couldn't do it without the support of my team and my family and friends around me now, and the commands that are taking this seriously. So it's not a me thing. It's weird killing it because there's not enough of us out there sharing our story. You know.
How were you adversely affected this year, or were you able to adapt pretty quickly and keep training and keep speaking and keep sharing your message?
There were absolutely some effects because of COVID-19, but we were able to adapt to do virtual sessions. And honestly, my mom passed a few years ago, so I had to take a little bit of a break to mourn and get stronger and deal with what was taking place. So this was actually kind of my first year getting back out and sharing my story. So
that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Timothy, we can't thank you enough for being here. It can't be easy to keep telling your story, but we are beyond honored that you would share it with us tonight, and we hope that people at home, they're watching, or at work when you should be working, are listening and.
So I want to share this with you.
Yeah, send it.
I want to thank you because where I am right now, I am in my home. I am in my home speaking to you. 8 years ago, this would not have been possible. only thing that I wanted to do was go to Walmart and shop and not think that another male was going to assault me. So from being there to being here, inviting you into my home to show that growth, it's never easy, but it's perfect. It's worth it.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it so much. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Well, I'll never be able to thank you properly for being here. And I tell people, I've told people before, like everybody is capable of everything. The difference is that you have self-control, and some people don't want to agree with that, and that's all well and good. But I believe every person is capable of anything on this planet, up to and including murder. The ability to not do any of those terrible things to other people is self-control and a moral compass. And I'm not going to say that my moral compass does not have gray areas or never always points north, but I hope that the people who watch it and listen, I hope that they don't ever do something like this that puts them in these positions. But I hope on top of that, more so, that if they know after watching this episode and listening to you speak, that those people are not people you need around, and those people are not good for the rest of us. And it's not worth keeping your mouth quiet if you know that something is wrong. It's worth it to report, because it's not just it's just like when people say like, oh, don't, you should write good evals for piece of shit sailors. No, you're a piece of shit. If you do terrible fucking things, you're a terrible fucking person. Why are we going to protect you? You potentially damage somebody who could be great, who could be phenomenal, who could be fantastic, could be amazing in their job, but you have to. It's and I understand. It's like sometimes it's tough because it's a friend of theirs, or they don't want to get involved because they're afraid of conflict. But I hope that listening to you talk tonight provides people just that extra little nudge to make sure they're not taking care of people who do wrong, but they're taking care of those around them, regardless of the conflict that it might create for them. Because there are more good people in this world than there are bad people, and we need to do our best to protect them. And I hope that, as much as it would pain me to read that this has happened to more people, I would be happy to know that they're comfortable coming forward and speaking out than suffering in silence, because we all can agree that that's not the better way to go about things.
But also thank you for being here, because it's for the ones that are watching. Maybe there is someone out there. We've always said, and we say this almost every single episode, that if we can get through to one person, if we can bring people like yourself and other organizations here and get through to one person, then we've all done our job. So hopefully this shows someone to have the strength that you did, that might have unfortunately been in a similar situation and will come forward and go through the amazing healing process that you've gone through. Because just sitting here listening to your story, going, having all these amazing goals and aspirations, and then going through that, getting through that dark place, and you're still coming out on top, is absolutely unbelievably inspiring. And I can't thank you enough for sharing that with us today.
Thank you. I will tell you that, man, it's amazing on this journey, and still on this journey. So I've just had to put my pants on. I have to make that decision every morning to get up and fight. So it's something that I also want to stress. This journey keeps on going. We're continuously learning until the day we're no longer here. So I'm on that road of recovery. I may be a little bit further along than others, and there's others that are further along than me. But that's why we are a community together. And that's why it's so important for us, number one, to create that space for other survivors to come forward. And we may see numbers go up. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's a good thing. That just means more people are able to share and come forward. And so, Meg, I want to say thank you for sharing your story with me. I did not know that. So thank you.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if the guys had said anything, because I couldn't hear for some of the conversation. But yeah, I was really excited, and that's why I didn't say so much today. I just wanted to hear your story. And as a survivor myself, I don't see a whole lot of men come forward with their story, and I'm very vocal about mine, and I love that you're vocal about yours as well, because it's not your fault what happened to you. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't. You did the right thing. You did the best that you could with what you were handed, and I feel like a lot more people need to hear that. And I mean, I always tell my story because, as you said, it's no longer my story; it's everyone's story. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'd love to have you back on.
I would love to. We'll get into some more. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that sharing my story has done, and this is when my mom passed, I was able to be with my mom and be present with her. And in my family, we were able to have that moment. I'm so grateful to be able to have been there because I was on a road that I didn't think that I would never have been able to do that. But when she was able to go, she knew that I was in a much healed place. So that's what being able to share my story has given me. And thank you.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Timothy, for being here. We appreciate you blocking the time out for us. Thank you very much.
Yes. And I'll share some more funny stories. I'm a horrible joke teller. I'll tell you that.
That's okay. We're not very good either.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. We will talk soon.
Thanks, Timothy.
Bye-bye.
Speak for yourself. I'm hilarious.
Yeah, but you're not good at telling jokes.
Oh,
It's
well,
all stories.
That's not true. I talk about my life. It's a pretty big joke.
Which is
Yeah, you and yourself are a joke.
Was this Bash on Hugh Day?
Yeah.
Yes.
Meg's getting back.
Every day is Bash on Hugh Day, and every day is Bash on Meg Day.
Yeah.
So, guys, we got the holidays coming up here next fucking Friday. Santa's gonna be in everyone's house.
Oh my god! I
Delivering
can't wait
presents.
for Santa to come down my chimney.
I don't know if that's like code word for something
really dirty.
That sounded really dirty. The way you
I don't care for that at all.
the way you were sitting back, I
Very
can't wait
comfortable
till
right
Santa
now.
comes down my chimney.
Oh God.
I'm sorry, I got a piece
Meg,
so bad.
Meg, are your pipes that dusty? Come on.
Right now they are filled because I have to pee so bad.
So
we'll be back Monday. We have actually guests on Monday before the end of the year. We'll be doing a wrap-up show with some of our other guests who've been on throughout the year. And then we are shutting down into the new year.
Yep. We will not be here we're still in the talks.
The second Tuesday of January is our first day back. So.
Yeah, but also a big announcement is we have a lot of stuff coming out in the new year. So definitely stay tuned to all social media because me, Hugh, and Meg. Me, Hugh, and Meg. Shut the fuck up, Hugh. Me, Hugh, and Meg.
Meg, Hugh, and Billy.
Working with
Billy, Hugh, Meg, Billy, Meg, Hugh, Billy. Meg.
Shut the fuck up, Meg. Anyway,
we gotta get a clip of Billy telling Meg to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just
there's a lot of them.
We do. Billy's right. We do have a lot coming out in the new year. Include hopefully all our stuff is going to be on listening networks. You'll be able to tell your friends about it. We have our team working on a website, which we're very excited about. And we've been speaking with our guests about getting links and information and videos and their stores linked up with our website. Because obviously we have nothing to sell unless Meg drops out of school. She might sell her body. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't know. I'm looking into a OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. There we go. But no, so we do have a lot planned. So just stay tuned to all our social media outlets. We're going to be putting a lot of announcements on there for when we're going to be back. We're also the big announcement we can talk about now is we're dropping to once a week.
Yep.
So there's only going to be one show a week.
It'll be on Mondays.
It'll be on Monday nights. Yeah. And that way.
What we're hoping is that we can provide, if we have the week to prepare, we can give you guys a better quality show for, right now we're at an hour 10. If we go to an hour and a half or 2 hours, what have you. But also at this point, we are working with getting some highlight reels put together and people who just maybe don't want to join us on the show, but want to send us some videos to advertise their veteran-owned business or business for veterans. So we're just trying to make sure that we're giving you guys the best content we possibly can.
And we're also going to have special episodes throughout the year like we normally do. They're just going to be a little bit more increased. There's going to be a lot of big things coming.
We're very excited about the whole thing. So really every time we talk about it, I go from 6 to midnight.
So
put it down.
Stop it. Is that what the thud was on the desk? Is that what
Mind your business. Mind your business.
But yeah, so we're going to So just watch out this week. I think we might. Are we doing a Christmas? We might just have like a whole shit ton of guests on for one day. We're working it out.
We're having guests on the 21st. I might just come out and tell all of you that don't drink yourself into a depression over the holidays. Nope. Which I know is the pot calling the kettle. I know that's a pot calling the kettle black, but teamwork makes the dream work and whatnot.
Yeah, but you know what, Hugh? Even though you do say that, you do reach out to us, and we all talk each other through it just here on the show. So we do. Well, we really do. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I answer your emails.
We're annoying the shit out of each other in the Facebook. We're annoying the shit out of each other in the Facebook chat.
I have to yell at you every time I post something in the chat. I'm like, Hugh, read this.
I muted it for a while.
Also,
I know you do.
Let him talk, Meg.
Where did I? Where's our email? Anyway, you can email us at libertyriskpodcast at gmail.com. If there's something specific that you want to see on the show, or you have an idea that you want to pitch to us, you'd like to see on the show,
or you have a question,
or you have a question, you want to, or anything at all, just reach out to us, or you could reach out to us on any of the social media outlets. Everything's Liberty Risk Podcast. Just go ahead, type that into the search bar on any social media outlet if you're not already following or liking us, and you'll be able to find us, and you can hit us up on all those. We literally are monitoring them all day long. So we do see when the messages come through. Fuck, there's a plane. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Whew. God damn.
So you get your bed fixed then, huh?
North Korea. Did you hear that shit? Do you hear that shit?
Close.
No, I'd take my antipsychotics.
That fucked me up for a second.
Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we're here for you, which is something I tell my junior troops, only I mean it when I say to you guys. So for those of you that do tune in, we will see you all on Monday. Billy's probably going to have an appointment.
Mount the bayonets!
Bayonets! All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Monday. Everybody have a good weekend.
Love you guys. Everyone take it easy.
See ya.
Fucking planes.
Oh my